A Lean Six Sigma project can have a strong team, accurate data, experienced leadership, and all the right tools and still fail. Not because DMAIC failed, not because the statistics were wrong, and not because the team lacked effort. Sometimes the project was already in trouble before the first analysis was ever performed. The reason is surprisingly simple. The team was solving the wrong problem. Organizations often launch improvement projects because something hurts. Customers are complaining. Productivity is falling. Delivery performance is getting worse. Scrap is increasing. Overtime is growing. Or a KPI suddenly turns red. Management sees the symptom and immediately defines the project around it. But a symptom is not necessarily the problem. And when Lean Six Sigma is applied to a poorly defined problem, even excellent analysis can produce an excellent solution to something that never should have been the project in the first place. In this video, we are going to explore one of the most important questions in continuous improvement. Are you solving the real problem or simply the most visible one? Imagine a manufacturing operation where customer complaints about late deliveries have increased significantly. The obvious project might be, reduce late deliveries. That sounds reasonable. But what exactly is causing those deliveries to be late? Perhaps production capacity is insufficient. Perhaps scheduling rules are unstable. Perhaps raw materials arrive too late. Perhaps engineering changes are constantly disrupting production. Perhaps batches are too large. Perhaps equipment availability is poor. Perhaps orders are being accepted with unrealistic promise dates. Or perhaps the delivery KPI itself is being calculated incorrectly. The symptom is clear. Late delivery. The underlying problem is not. This distinction matters because Lean Six Sigma is not simply about improving what we can see. It is about understanding the system that produces what we see. Many organizations reward action. A problem appears, and managers immediately ask, "What are we going to do about it?" That question sounds productive, but sometimes it is being asked too early. A stronger question is, what do we actually know about the problem? That small change can completely transform an improvement project. Teams frequently move from complaint to solution without spending enough time understanding the current condition. A machine stops frequently. Buy another machine. Defects increase. Retrain the operators. Customers complain about response times. Hire more people. Inventory is too high. Reduce inventory targets. These solutions may eventually prove useful, but they are being proposed before the system has been understood. And once management becomes emotionally attached to a solution, the improvement project can quietly turn into an exercise designed to justify a decision that has already been made. That is not Lean Six Sigma. That is solution confirmation. A strong improvement project begins with a business problem. Something measurable is happening that matters to the organization or to the customer. For example, customer complaints increased from 2% to 6% during the last 6 months. Average order lead time increased from 8 days to 13 days. First pass yield decreased from 96% to 89%. The cost of rework increased by 25%. Notice what these statements have in common. They describe reality. They do not prescribe a solution. They tell us what is happening, how much it matters, and often when the change occurred. This is very different from statements such as, "We need a new inspection system. We need to automate this process. We need additional operators. We need better training." Those are possible solutions disguised as project definitions. One of the most valuable habits in operational excellence is learning to search for what we might call the problem behind the problem. Suppose a company has excessive work in process. Management launches a project to reduce inventory. The team lowers inventory limits. For several weeks, the numbers improve. Then something unexpected happens. Production interruptions increase. Customer orders start waiting for components. Expediting becomes common. And inventory slowly begins to rise again. Why? Because inventory was not necessarily the original problem. It may have been compensating for instability somewhere else in the system. Perhaps setup times were too long. Perhaps suppliers were unreliable. Perhaps production schedules changed constantly. Perhaps process capability was poor. The inventory was visible. The instability was not. Removing the visible symptom without understanding the underlying system can make performance worse. Before launching a major Lean Six Sigma project, ask one simple question. What evidence tells us that this is the problem we should solve? Not, what do we believe? Not, what does management think? Not, what has always been blamed? What evidence do we have? That evidence may come from customer complaints, process data, financial losses, cycle times, defect patterns, capability studies, Pareto analysis, value stream observations, or direct observation of the process. The objective is not to delay action. The objective is to prevent wasted action. Because improving the wrong thing faster is still improving the wrong thing. This is why the define phase of DMAIC is far more important than many teams realize. Define is sometimes treated as administrative preparation. Create the charter. Choose the team. Write the problem statement. Schedule the meetings. Then move quickly to measure. But define should establish the logic of the entire project. What business problem are we trying to solve? Who experiences the impact? What process is involved? Where does the problem occur? When does it happen? How large is the gap? What is inside the project scope? And perhaps most importantly, what are we deliberately not assuming yet? A strong define phase protects the project from premature conclusions. Another common mistake is treating a KPI as if it were the process itself. Suppose OE is below target. Management says, we need an OE improvement project. Maybe, but OE combines availability, performance, and quality. Which component is actually creating the loss? And even within availability, what kind of loss? Breakdowns? Changeovers? Material shortages? Waiting for instructions? Micro-stoppages? A metric tells you that something deserves attention. It does not automatically tell you where the improvement project should focus. The same is true for customer satisfaction, productivity, scrap, lead time, cost, and service level. KPIs point toward the problem. They do not always define it. Compare these two project statements. First, improve the packaging process. What does that mean? Improve what? Speed? Quality? Cost? Ergonomics? Reliability? Now consider, during the last 4 months, the packaging line has averaged 7.8% rework, compared with the target of less than 2%, resulting in approximately 140 additional labor hours per month. Now we know something. We know the gap. We know the time frame. We know the process. We know the magnitude. And we know why the organization should care. But notice what we still do not know. We have not declared the cause. That is intentional. The project still has something to discover. This might be one of the most important cultural differences between real continuous improvement and superficial improvement programs. Good teams begin with curiosity. They do not ask, who caused this? They ask, what conditions created this result? They do not ask, how can we prove our solution will work? They ask, what does the process data tell us? And they do not begin with certainty. They begin with a hypothesis that must survive contact with evidence. That mindset changes everything. Because Lean Six Sigma is not a collection of tools for confirming what we already believe. It is a disciplined method for discovering what the process is actually telling us. There is another difficult situation improvement professionals frequently face. A senior leader announces, we already know the problem. We just need Lean Six Sigma to fix it. This creates a dangerous dynamic. The project team may feel unable to challenge the original assumption. Data collection becomes selective. Analysis becomes narrow. Alternative explanations are ignored. Eventually, the team delivers exactly what leadership expected. And several months later, the original problem returns. Strong improvement cultures allow evidence to challenge assumptions, including assumptions made by senior management. That is not resistance. That is disciplined problem solving. Before your next improvement project begins, try this test. Can your team explain the problem without mentioning a solution? Can you quantify the gap between current and desired performance? Can you identify who is affected by that gap? Can you show evidence that the problem is worth solving? And can you honestly say that the root cause is still unknown? If the answer to those questions is yes, you probably have the beginning of a real improvement project. If the project already contains the cause and the solution before data collection begins, you may not have a Lean Six Sigma project. You may simply have an implementation plan. And there is nothing wrong with implementation plans. But we should not confuse them with problem solving. Solving the wrong problem creates more than wasted time. It consumes improvement resources. It damages confidence in Lean Six Sigma, creates change fatigue. It frustrates employees. And perhaps most dangerously, it can convince leadership that structured improvement does not work. But the methodology may not have failed at all. The team may simply have applied it to the wrong target. This is why problem selection and problem definition are not preliminary paperwork. They are part of the analysis. So before opening a statistical package, before building a fishbone diagram, before running a capability study, before organizing a Kaizen event, ask, what problem are we really trying to solve? What evidence supports that definition? What are we assuming? And what would happen if our assumptions were wrong? Those questions may save weeks or months of improvement effort. Because the objective of Lean Six Sigma is not to complete projects. The objective is to improve systems. Think about an improvement project you have seen in your own organization. Did the team begin with a clearly defined problem? Or did they begin with a solution that somebody had already decided to implement? Share your experience in the comments. That distinction creates some of the most interesting discussions in continuous improvement. Lean Six Sigma gives us powerful tools: process mapping, measurement systems analysis, statistical analysis, root cause analysis, control plans, and many others. But sophisticated tools cannot rescue a project built around the wrong problem. First, understand the gap. Then understand the process. Then follow the evidence. And only then decide what needs to change. If you work with Lean Six Sigma, operational excellence, quality, or process improvement, and you want practical discussions about what really happens inside organizations, subscribe to the Lean Six Sigma channel. This series is called Why Improvement Projects Fail, and in the next episode we are going to look at another dangerous problem: when the metrics themselves create the wrong story. Because sometimes your improvement project is not being misled by people. It is being misled by the data. I'll see you in the next video.